right. Well, it's his cousin, her cousin, your cousin Vinny. Obviously, you see I'm a little hurt right now, so I haven't been out doing any videos or anything like that. But
yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
I was shocked to hear that you injure yourself. It's awful close to bow season.
Yeah, that's what I'm nervous about.
And it's one of your arms, buddy. So
well, we'll be okay.
Oh, make sure you heal up. Do exactly what the doctor says.
Yeah.
Don't push it. You know, honest to God, especially this close.
Yeah.
Be a different story, I think, if it was maybe April or May or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Plenty of time to heal.
Yeah, the fact that we're already August. I'm worried about early goose in September. I don't know.
Have you tried to shoot a scattergun?
No. I haven't tried to shoot anything.
I would start with something small.
Little 22?
No, you got a 410?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, try that.
See what happens.
Well, yeah, but actually you might even want to ask your doctor.
Well, I'm going to wait till the MRI and then we'll see how it goes.
See what he says.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, don't mess around with that stuff. Honest and truly.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
But, so anyway, I mean, I'm glad to have you back.
It's good to be back, man.
It's good to be back, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that you were here, and, let me turn this off here. There we go, get that out of our way. I'm glad to have you back. We did the first one, and it was good.
It was
a
little long.
A little long.
Because, boy, we got going. We were at it, and...
yeah, that's the thing, me and you could talk.
We could.
For forever. I mean, I could talk,
Keep an eye on the clock.
I'm going to try.
We're going to cut it off at an hour
We're going to try to keep this one an hour.
Okay.
But, so, I brought you back, and we were talking about it earlier. I sent you the text message yesterday.
Sure.
What makes a hunter a hunter? What's in his heart that makes a hunter? In your eyes, what do you think?
You mean what creates the person in the beginning, or what is it that finally makes him cross the line and other hunters look at him and say that guy's a hunter?
Let's start from the beginning. What do you think is what brings a person from not just the outdoors, because anybody could go in the outdoors,
sure.
Right? Anybody could go out the outdoors and take pictures and stuff like that. But what makes them? What do you think is the beginning that leads them into hunting?
Well, I'm sure that for a lot of people, there's different things that open the door, but I think it has to start with something inside of us. DNA. Well, let's face it. Every single human being walking the face of the planet today, their ancestors hunted.
True.
I mean, we don't know how far back, but they did, because if they didn't, maybe we wouldn't be here.
They had no choice.
So I think it starts with that. It's something that's inside of us, and then from there it has to be a combination of how were they introduced to it, or made aware, because and I know a handful of guys, their fathers didn't hunt.
Yeah.
They didn't have an uncle that hunted. It wasn't like, I used to hunt with my grandfather. None of that.
Yeah.
These guys hunt, and some of them are pretty good hunters.
Yeah.
And it was something else that I guess opened their eyes to it, whether it be a coworker, a neighbor, a friend in school. So, and I think that's where it has to start.
I get you.
And then on top of that, there has to be kind of a love for the outdoors, an appreciation for wildlife, whether guys realize it or not. I mean, most hunters that I know, in fact, just about all of them, they have some kind of an appreciation for the outdoors. They enjoy the seasonal change. A lot of them fish.
True.
You know what I mean?
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, you have to have definitely a love for the outdoors, or else you're gonna what are you gonna do?
If you don't like it outside, you're not gonna enjoy yourself hunting, because that's where it takes place.
It's true. And then it's got to be it's definitely, with you saying, it's got to be in that person too. I mean, I think it's probably in everybody, because like you said, everybody at one point had to hunt.
Their ancestors had to hunt. There's really no denying that.
No.
But it does. It has to be inside of us for the spark to reignite. And I'm sure that there's a variety of reasons why some people don't enjoy it today. Outside in the cold, the taking of an animal's life, dealing with it, field dressing an animal.
Sure.
Some guys don't like fishing because they don't want to take the fish off the hook or to put the worm on the hook.
Sure. And that's a good point. It's actually, you said that the taking of the animal, and I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, with the taking of an animal, and that's one of the things. Just one of the things I would say that makes a good hunter, conservationalist, versus just a guy, a savage killer. We're not predators. We're not a coyote.
We're not. We're not. Well, we are I'm sorry.
We're a predator.
We are. Yeah. I would disagree with that. We are a predator.
Yeah.
Because our eyes are on the front of our head.
It's true. It's a good point.
So I mean, without getting into the without getting into that, but yeah, there are some guys out there who look at really just they just want to kill. And
well, the anti-hunter too. The anti-hunter looks at a hunter as you're a bad person. You're a savage person. You don't care about that animal. Well, how dare you? What are you thinking?
Well, right. And I think the anti-hunter, 99 times out of 100, I just don't think they understand.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because, well, for example, a lot of our sportsmen's dollars go into conservation. I mean, whether people realize it or not, or if they're aware, what sportsmen / hunters do for the very game animals that they pursue, it goes unrecognized because it's our dollars.
Sure.
It's our dollars that pay for the DEC to study the animals, to regulate the numbers, to determine which ones can be harvested and
how many, where,
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Season dates and limits and stuff like that.
Like, I couldn't tell you how many times I tell people, like, oh, I shot a doe who has never hunted before, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you could shoot female deer.
Sure.
Is that illegal? But most people don't know.
Right. And that's where it's important for us as sportsmen to be able to at least, articulate, why and how this happens.
Yeah.
To be able to explain it to people, to say, yeah, it's even more important to harvest some of the females of every species because it keeps the numbers down.
True.
Because I don't know if I mentioned this in the last podcast or not, but whether guys realize it, and I shouldn't even say that, whether hunters realize it or not, when you're out there and you're dressed like a hunter and you're carrying a weapon, whether you like it or not, you're an ambassador for the sport. And
True.
And if you really do love the sport, then it's up to us, I think, to be able to at least defend it to some level with facts, you know what I mean, and not just feelings, which I think a lot of and I think that's what drives a lot of the anti-hunters is just strictly feelings.
That's got to be all it does.
Oh my God, how can you kill that poor little animal? He's defenseless. Well, he's not. They're not.
No, they're not.
They can fly away. They can run away. They hide real well. They blend in, and that's
their defense.
That is their defense.
Their defense.
Exactly, man.
It's our opportunity as a hunter to outsmart an animal in its own habitat.
Right.
When we live in a house, we have to go into his house.
Their house, right.
And figure it out.
And oftentimes, more often than not, they are the victor.
Yeah, they win.
And there are some that would say, well, good, because, if they're not, they lose their life. But that's just the way it is. I mean, even with Primitive Man, I'm sure he didn't score all the time.
True.
Although it was more life and death for him, for them back then, than the animal. But still, the very existence of the species depended on the game animal surviving.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So
and that's the thing too. Like an anti-hunter would have to realize too. It's not like they see on TV the grip and rip photos of oh, I got one. We're hooting and hollering. I remember my first deer. I had like and I don't know about you, and I don't know if it's every hunter who feels the same way, but I remember when I shot my first deer, walking up to it, I remember like almost like a sense of like a loss, almost like, oh man, like I did this. This is mine. Like I was connected to that animal, and I still am. I still look at it.
No, you're right. Yes, I felt that way. I mean, I didn't jump up and down. First of all, I was alone.
Yeah.
I was I wasn't standing next to like a friend or my brother or anything, but yeah, I remember thinking to myself, looking at it and saying, I took this animal's life, but this is why I'm out here, and but I'm going to do the best I can to.
Especially when you're young, I was a young cat, and not to say I wasn't excited. Everybody should be excited.
There was plenty of excitement.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my heart was racing.
Oh yeah,
my heart was racing. But there was a lot of things going through my mind, and I had to gut it. And it was my first attempt, and it took me. Well, I didn't have I didn't sit and hit a stopwatch, man. But it took me a while.
Took you a lot longer than probably now.
Yeah. I took my time because of the whole, I was worried about, rupturing the bladder.
Or the stomach.
You got to be careful with that,
True.
So.
True. I remember doing my dad's first year, and I hit everything. I hit everything. Stomach, the whole. I was like, it was the worst.
Feces come out.
Actually, that wasn't as bad. I hit you know what it was? I popped that stomach, and
that. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be as concerned about that as I would the bladder, because the bladder. The urine leaks all over, and it could permeate the meat, whereas like the stomach contents usually just a lot of green vegetation mashed up, and it's more
nasty.
It's more like a peanut butter consistency.
Absolutely, that's the best way.
It's not going to run into drain into everything.
No,
so
which is true. I mean, because once you get that the urine in there, then it's over.
Yeah, but all I would say to the brand new hunter, if you're doing it your first. Do a lot more pulling and not necessarily cutting, but you know what I mean. You can do a lot more with just your hands than the knife. You really only need the knife to separate, to open the diaphragm, separate it from the backbone, things like that. So to anybody that's brand new, I say just take your time. You know what I mean? It's even if it's getting dark out, you got a flashlight in your mouth or something. Just take your time. Or if it's cold enough, go get help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Go find somebody, and
it's not a race.
Oh no,
it's definitely not a race. People are like, I want to get this in and out. But it's not a race.
Yeah,
you're gonna eat this.
Right. Once the critter's down, I mean, the clock stops.
Absolutely.
It's like you got time usually, unless you got to get on an airplane in the morning or something crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, which I'm guessing probably has happened. It does happen, with the huts,
Oh yeah.
But it's just. It's weird to say, because I just learned, and it's funny, I brought it up to you, in the garage when we were hanging out there, with the Teddy Roosevelt thing. I knew a lot about Teddy Roosevelt, but I didn't know how deeply ingrained he was with the conservation effort.
Oh yeah, he's probably the one, the most responsible for it. I mean, he's got it all kicked off. He's the one responsible for setting aside what would be state or federal land, he
was the first
public property, you know what I mean, which seems like every day that goes by it becomes more and more important, especially to the common sportsman, having a place.
Because he started the Boone and Crockett.
I don't know.
I believe.
I don't know if he started Boone and Crockett or not.
It wasn't Pope and Young.
No,
I think it was Boone and Crockett then.
Well,
or he was a big part of it.
He was there in the beginning. Yeah, the turn of the 20th century, and I'm certain it wasn't Pope and Young. Glenn St. Charles was more instrumental in that, and that actually came along later as the archery seasons started popping up. But we can get into that later. But Teddy was he was an avid sportsman. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the rifle round, the 444 Marlin, was created specifically for him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
really, the 444 Marlin.
It's a big, long, straight.
I know.
Walled,
oh yeah, straight wall cartridge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if it was created for Africa or not, but I know he was over there. He hunted over there.
He loved the West.
He loved the West,
even though he was from New York.
He was.
But he loved the West.
He did. Well, I mean, you know what? I think it's in everybody, man. The outdoors. I mean,
well, you know what it was? It was he loved the outdoors. He at 14, I just found it. I'll run you. No, but at 14, he became a collector and a taxidermist of wild birds.
See, I didn't know that.
And he was a master at 14. And then when I don't know the date, as he got older, he lost his mother and his wife at the same day.
Oh.
His wife died of kidney failure. His mother died of typhoid fever.
It's probably popular, or common.
Yeah, it was common back then. But and then that without anything, family holding him back, that's what sent him to the West. And he was like, I want to follow what I love. I love animals. Let me see what I can do out that way. What made him do what he did is because when he went out west, he found out that it wasn't hunting like it is today. Then it was market. The railroad system was coming in, and people at that point used to sit on top of railroads or out railroad windows, and they would shoot animals for sport, for competition.
Right.
And he seen that, and at that point, he became, as he started becoming into power as president, and stuff like that. And as he got older, he actually, I don't know if it was the Smithsonian, but I don't know if you knew if you know anything about this, but at one point he started collecting animals.
I did. Stuffed animals.
Stuffed.
Taxidermy.
And he tried to get, he had a bison, whitetail, pronghorn, all big game animals, because he foreseen that at one point they were going to be gone.
Right.
He had whitetail, whitetail that everybody knows of as a whitetail. They were going, if it wasn't for him, they probably would have been gone. Or if somebody else didn't pick up the slack, but thankfully for Roosevelt.
Well, what you need to remember is that the population was growing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so
the market.
The market hunters were. I'm not sure of the statistic on this, but the market hunters were responsible for a good portion of the regulations. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bag limits and season dates and stuff like that. Because prior to that, it was kind of, I don't want to say wide open, but it was wide open. I mean, there were guys, I've seen black and white photographs of guys in the Adirondacks with long log poles. There's like 6 or 7 guys, and there's there's 18, 20 deer hanging. Yeah. And those deer, that meat is going to the big cities. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Wow. It's like ducks. Remember when the ducks, canvasbacks, took a beat down with the punt guns?
The canvasback at one time was the king because he's a big duck. Yeah, he's delicious.
Delicious. Oh, yeah.
The most of the puddlers, although the canvasback's a diver. Yeah. And those punt guns were killing.
They take flocks,
dozens at one shot.
And I'll post a picture, but a punt gun was basically a cannon. It was like the biggest shotgun you've ever seen. Yeah. Mounted to the front of a boat.
Yeah. When I was probably in the mid 70s, I remember seeing a picture in an Outdoor Life of a guy who, it's a black and white photo, and he's leaning on one, and the gun is 8 feet tall, and the barrels look.
It's a monster. Oh yeah. It's like it wasn't like a shell. I don't think you put a shell. It had to be black powder at that point.
I think early on, I'm sure that most of them were muzzle loaded shotguns, and they would load with just like a couple cups of BBs, rocks and glass, and who knows what they were putting in there. But I mean, one shot, it's like go pick up 89 ducks.
They were I heard of in an old Ducks Unlimited magazine, I wish I still had it, but they had it was going back learning about punt guns and stuff like that, and they had pictures. I've seen so many pictures of punt guns. I've probably seen that one, but it was they were talking about canvasbacks, and it was on one of the Great Lakes, and the guy paddled out, and he's telling the story from his grandfather, but basically he paddled out, one shot, it was 150. Yeah, canvasbacks one shot, which is insane. I mean, but they were going for so much money. It was sport. It was market at the time. They were selling them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they clearly weren't sportsmen. I mean, those guys were in it to, kind of, whether it was right or wrong at the time, to earn a living. Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the Ducks Unlimited magazine. I remember reading a story about a guy down south. He was the last market hunter. I mean, he was market hunting when there were regulations coming about, and I remember him. He had decoys that were hollowed out so he could put dead ducks into them, so that if the game warden or a DEC officer checked him, it's like there's a pile.
It's got decoys.
There's a pile of decoys over there. It's like, well, every one of them has a dead duck inside.
Oh, okay.
And that
crafty little guy.
Oh yeah. Well. Criminal trying to stay one step ahead, unfortunately. But the other thing is I'm not positive if it was the same article, but that if it was, the guy talked about wearing out shotguns.
It might have been in the same. I think it might have been the same. It probably was. You might have given it to me.
I might have been, but it was a story. Yeah, it was in Ducks Unlimited, and it was, there were some old black and white photos, and when federal regulations started coming about, this guy was like, well, I'm going to keep going because this is how I've been feeding my family.
Yeah,
and earning a living. Yeah. So I'm sure it was the same story, whether I gave you the book or not.
It might have been. I think you probably did, but needless to say, at least we don't. It's not like that anymore. But at one time. That's how hunting, and it's not even hunting, but that's just how that would have been the demise of the North American game population for everything. 1918, they put into the federal wildlife for the bird, for ducks, migratory bird act. You know what I mean?
Right, right. You're not talking about the Pittman-Roberts Act, are you?
No, not
that. Came later, where actually. The dollars raised from sportsmen.
Yeah, that went to the conservation for wetlands and stuff like that, right?
Right, but that I think was
that was later.
30s.
That was definitely more
roughly
I think 30s or 40s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But 19, and that's crazy to think about because it's only if you think about it, 1918 is 100 years ago, you know what I mean? Right. And then before that, that's all. It was just free game. You shoot whatever you want, whenever you want.
Kind of wide open. Right. Which I guess to some degree, maybe it was a good thing because there were still people living, I don't want to say out in the wild, but people living a lot more freer than we do today, and that's how they put dinner on the table.
True,
you know what I mean?
I mean that I don't see a problem with. Like if you were a mountain man out west or anywhere, if you were a mountain man in anywhere in that time and you were putting dinner on the table, that's a different story than a market hunter.
Night and day, because that mountain man's not going to deplete a species or damage them.
Yeah, to the point where it's unsalvageable.
Right. One or two, or even, however many people were living that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the problem erupts is when you get densities in population, and then you got X amount of people hunting the same species. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like really, and I don't even know what the number is. Like how many guys or how many people deer hunt in New York? Do you know that number?
I don't even know the number, but see, I would say it's a lot. It's got to be a lot.
It is, but it's decreasing every year because the number of new hunters isn't holding matching with the number of guys that are passing away.
Yeah.
And I think the average age is somewhere in the high 50s today.
Is it really?
Yeah, because I remember a statistic maybe 10 or 15 years ago where it was like maybe a year or two ahead of my age.
Okay.
And it continues to go up because as the population ages.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's the average age. There's still the bulk of the hunters are still 50 to 65, and then of course guys pass away, so that number decreases, and we just don't have the younger children getting into it like we used to at one time.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a sad thing too.
It's terrible.
I mean, because eventually it will be gone. I have a feeling. I mean, I don't know if it will completely be gone, but eventually I think it's going to be not what it is today. Even
maybe not in our lifetime. It will happen, but I do see it heading towards the rich, the elite.
Yeah.
The people who have enough money to maintain 100, 200 acres and but then again, therein lies the state or federal property.
True.
Where the common man could say, listen, you know what? I mean, all I got to do is hop in my truck and I got to drive 50 miles and there's 1,000 acres of state land, I can hunt there, but then there's other regulations that go along. There could potentially be tagged onto that. It's like the permit to harvest the animal, to maintain and own a weapon, things
True.
like that. I don't think I'll see it in my life, but I see it headed that way because I
don't think I'll see it in my life either. But my son, my daughter, they might.
I hope they don't see that come, but
I don't either.
But making predictions is tough.
True. But you know what the problem is, too, is like we have a big chunk of state land right 10 minutes down the road, just the swamps over there. And there's a lot of
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
all right, well, we have the swamps over there, and there's a lot of people who hunt it. Tons of people who hunt that area.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who don't hunt it, who like to walk their dogs, who like to go and bird watch and take pictures.
Right.
And I see online, especially, a lot more people who have negative thoughts about people going out there and using it for not taking pictures. There's so many people out there who just take pictures and like to walks and
Right.
Take their walks.
Right.
That's all they think that land should be for. And but the problem that lies in there that I see is that that's the voice that's being heard, because those are the people who are bitching. Really,
and it could also be that those are the greater numbers.
That's the greater number right now.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if you have, I don't know how many acres down the road.
Oh man, I don't know.
Let's say it's 500. Let's say it's 500.
500. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, what do you anticipate? Maybe 20 guys hunt there, 25, 50.
200, 300.
Oh wow,
It's a lot.
See, now
it's a lot.
that's a sizable number where that voice should be heard. You know what I mean?
It should be, but you know what? That's where I think, and that's what goes back into like the beginning of what makes a hunter a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Hunters don't stand by each other anymore. And I'm not going to say everyone, because you have like a Ranilla out there who's beating down the door for people out west.
Sure.
Who's our guy? We don't have a guy. You know what I mean?
We don't.
Northeast especially. We don't have a guy out this way.
No, we don't.
You know what I mean?
We don't.
You know, I'm just trying to think of younger cats coming up who could, and that's the thing too, is like you start to lose younger people when you have older people, especially nowadays. You know, the respect factor isn't there like it used to be for respecting elders and stuff like that, right?
Right, but that's across the board.
But that's across the board.
Right.
I'm saying that's just across the board.
Right.
And now you do that with hunting. Say you got this old guy out there preaching his old way.
Right.
And a lot of the young cats, they just don't, the younger guys, they want to be bothered with it. You got a guy like Ranilla out there talking about the elk and the bear out west. People are starting to follow it, and look what he's doing out there. I mean, he got, he's always posting like different things like about California, how they stop the mountain lion hunting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's posting now all the problems, but he's a voice to showing like, this is why you should be hunting, this is why you should be fishing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
we don't have that guy out this way.
He's talking about controlling the numbers.
Absolutely
right. I remember, I'll take a guess and don't hold me to this number, Vin, but maybe mid 90s, late 90s, when that mountain lion thing went into effect in California. And it didn't take long, maybe a decade later, domestic pets were being swiped from backyards by mountain lions, and people were having a fit. And it's like, well, nobody's keeping these numbers in check.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then on top of all that, too, what some people fail to realize is that as populations continue to grow, I mean, we're squeezing all these animals into smaller and smaller, not woodlots. I mean, out there, the tracts of land are much larger, but still, you're depleting, wild land, and then you're forcing these critters into a smaller area. I mean, it's what happened in Amherst.
Look what's happening. I just seen in Amherst. You remember, if you ever been on the 990 and you look on the right and there's those big ponds over there. 2 years ago, there wasn't a house there. Now it's a whole development in there.
Right.
There's at least 30, 40 houses in there. And I'm like, I remember
that you could
seeing a coyote there. Yeah. I remember seeing deer there. Like, now there's not.
The coyote's probably still there.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I know their numbers fluctuate with the food available, but the Amherst problem was, 3 decades ago or better, they were developing. The joke was, you drive down the road one day on the way to work and there's woods on the side of the road, and you're coming home from work and there's a house there and the guy's cutting the grass. That's a joke, but they were just developing so fast, and they were compressing these animals into smaller and smaller woodlots, and of course the numbers were growing because nobody was harvesting these critters,
which is still happening,
other than maybe automobiles when they cross the road.
Absolutely.
And and then of course the bucks were getting big. It's like guys were just chomping at the bit to get in there. And then I remember discussing it with other hunters, and they're like, yeah, it'd be great to get in there. And I says, well, you know what, truth be told, the right thing to do is to go in there and start taking some of the does out of it. You just have to do it. I mean,
Sure.
if you want to, you go in there and you shoot a big 9-point and it's 161 inches.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
one deer.
That's one deer. But if you take a doe out of there, you start looking at one deer this year, and then next year it's 3, and then the next year it's 9, and how it branches out. That was the right way to do it. You know what I mean? In my opinion, and I'm pretty sure it's right, because the state's doing that with doe permits as far as keeping the numbers down. But guys didn't want to hear that.
No.
Guys were like, I go in there, I'm going to shoot that big 11-point I've been seeing behind my grandmother's house. It's like, you're not going to do any good. You know what? You're going to do you good one time, and then that's it. You're done.
Well, at least thankfully New York does it, and I've been on a September hunt for deer, and that is for nuisance. Nuisance for New York for farmers. They do it antlerless only. You could shoot them whatever is legal implement. So I mean, obviously I can't hunt with a rifle only spot here. A lot of hunt with shotgun, but at least they only let you do antlerless deer. And I'm guessing the whole reason behind it. You're not shooting velvet bucks and stuff like that.
Sure.
But that's the reason. I mean, you're not going out there to shoot nuisance deer to get your trophy. You're doing that because you're trying to help the farmer. Not lose all of his apples all year.
Right. I actually did a nuisance hunt in Painted Post. Early 2000s, maybe.
Okay.
Trying to think. What was it? Well, anyways, they were developing, and they had a deer problem, and it was prior to New York season, and they had a special, system set up where you applied, and but you had to shoot an antlerless deer. Yeah. So the one year, myself and a friend got selected, and we drove out there and stayed in his camper, and we had like a couple days to hunt. It's like the first night we were out there, he saw 13 bucks, I saw 9, no antlerless deer. It's like, well, geez, oh man, But I mean, of course, if we were lawbreakers, we could have, and just
a bunch of them.
Get out of there. But and the lady at the town hall even told us, she goes, listen, if you shoot a doe and you want another tag, come back.
Oh, really?
We'll give you another tag. You keep going as long as you're shooting antlerless deer.
Yeah.
But we only had a couple days.
I got you.
So, needless to say, I mean, we neither of us killed the deer because everything came by. It was, nothing big, but it was a lot of bucks, little 4s and 6ers, and
I ended up getting one. I got a doe right within the first hour, but it was weird. It was a hard hunt, honestly, because it's dark. You have to shoot him in. He didn't want no hunting until nighttime, which is fine. But
Oh, was that allowed?
Yeah,
I mean, by the
I'll do 24/7. Or no, it's on the permit. It has a time.
Okay.
I think it's till 4 in the morning or something like that. You know what I mean?
Wasn't exactly the dusk to dawn.
No.
New York State regulation.
No, they have a certain time. You can shoot them at nighttime. You can use lights. Infrared scopes or
hand grenades. Yeah.
If it was legal, sure. But and basically, it's just, but it's hard because now you're hunting a deer and it's warm, and so I mean you got to get on it.
Oh yeah.
But I mean that's another thing too. I mean, and that's another thing that goes back to talking about what we were talking, what makes a hunter, what makes it's a whole different story. I mean, because that's why that farmer asked us to do it, is because he didn't know what he was doing. He just had a problem, but he knows that we would use the meat, and stuff like that. So, I mean, he was happy, we were happy,
No, that's a good thing. That's a landowner hunter relationship that should be cherished, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean, and you think about it. I mean, a lot of farmers, they just don't have the time.
No, and that's what I've talked to a lot of farmers, and that seems to be the problem. Is that because we're going out hunting, they're like, man, I got to plow, I got to tell us, hey, I got to get this corn down.
Right.
It's I don't have time for hunting season.
I got to run my tractor for 12 hours, and I don't have time to sit as much as they would probably love to.
Oh, rather sit in a tree stand or something
and relax. Yeah. Certainly.
But that's a 365 job right there.
Basically, yeah, and they say that the dairy farmers that's the busiest.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you milk those cows
every day
on Christmas.
Every day. Oh yeah.
And if you go on vacation somewhere, you have somebody there to milk those cows.
Oh yeah. Those are the guys. Oh yeah. Those guys are busy. Those guys.
They are.
Yeah.
That's I think probably the busiest farmer would be the dairy.
A lot of guys out this way are dual. You got a lot of dairy farmers, and then they are running crops too. These guys don't stop.
Do they have a lot of cattle though? I mean,
like nothing like out west, and more out west seems to be like where they have huge dairy farms. But we have big ones out this way. But
yeah, there's a big one like between here and Batavia, on trying to think of the road. Well, 77.
Is that for Brian Dairy?
I don't know.
Burn Dairy?
Maybe.
Burn Dairy?
Like, my wife and I just passed by there the other day on the motorcycle. We went out to Batavia to that Applebee's, but it's on the left-hand side, and oh my God, they got a lot. I don't know if it's correct to call them cattle or a head of cow. They hit hundreds. Hundreds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like I have, what's the name? I can't even think of it, down the road, Violetti Farm or something like that, but they do, they have huge fields, but they also have, it looks like at least 300 head of cattle, and I'm like, damn, these guys are busy. You can just tell that they're. Yeah.
Even with modern technology, milking machines and stuff, they're still,
it's busy.
Oh yeah.
Because then you gotta. I don't know if you ever seen. They have to. You have to go through. I don't know if it's once a week or once a month. They have to. Get the hairs off the udders and stuff like that. You ever see them do that?
No, I know there's a lot of sanitizing going on because it's a food product. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I have seen some videos on YouTube of their feet. Like they can be nasty because they're walking around with cow crap all day and like a lot of little nasty.
Get hoof rot and stuff like that.
Pus pockets, and the guys just
they get lump jaw.
Oh,
you gotta they have to scalpel it and drain it. And, God.
Yeah. All right, back to hunting. This is.
Oh yeah, but but they're back to hunting. Get off the lump jaw.
We're talking about cow's feet.
But so we talked about how one gets into hunting, but what makes a hunter really like. Let me think how I'm going to put this here. You have hunters out there who will hunt, and I would call them fair weather hunters.
Okay.
What would you consider a hunter that's devoted his life into hunting? What makes a hunter that style hunter?
That devotes his life to it? Wow, that's a very tough definition. I would say that it's a guy who, or I'm sorry, again, it's a person, because there's a lot of good female hunters out there today.
Yes, there is.
It's a person that devotes their life to it, that obviously takes it serious. You know what I'm saying? Pays strict attention to the ethics, and spends 365 days maybe not doing it, but at least thinking about it and or dealing with it. And I would also say that the person becomes more involved, during the off season. They care so much about their sport, whether it's waterfowl or bow hunting or whatever, and they're in contact maybe with their local legislators to make sure that some of the laws and regulations don't run wild, or maybe harm the sport and or the game animals. You know what I mean? Because let's face it, those who make the laws aren't exactly well equipped to make judgment calls on certain regulations. So, and I think that some of the elected officials welcome that, because it's a source of information for them. So I think that, when the person is spending their June and July and they're prepping equipment and they're scouting and they're practicing and they're in contact with maybe their local elected officials or state officials saying, look, this law is coming about. I'm not so sure it's a good idea to end the season this early, or to open it up this early, and things like that. So there's a lot that there's a lot more that the average hunter could do to better every sport, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, most people don't, There's that old topic, or that old phrase that says, I'd love to see more people, participating in the sport. I would love to see the numbers doubled. But given the choice, Vin, I would rather see half the number of people doing it today, but more competent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if we had more people doing it, and they're out there and they're learning, it's like now you're looking at more regulations, and you really got to be strict about season dates, and you got to watch the numbers being harvested, versus maybe not as many people, but 3 out of 4 of them are involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they're actually making stuff happen.
I guess that would probably be like a double-edged sword, and then somebody would quite possibly say, well, wait a minute, you don't want half the people out there? No, I do. But you know what? If more people became even a little bit more involved, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, the number of people who hunt, you can't just throw the gates wide open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's like I just seen 2 petitions. Speaking, just become more involved and stuff like that. I seen one that was New York State dove hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I signed that one. I signed it though. I signed it.
Oh.
Yes, I signed yes. I want the dove hunting.
Yes,
it should be.
Let me just tell you a fast little story. You've been to Denton Hill.
Yeah.
And you remember our dog, our Springer, Mandy. So we'd bring her there, and there was a vendor selling something, and I'm talking to a guy, and he's like, oh, that's a nice looking Springer you got there. I said, thank you. He says, is that a dove dog? I says, no, I just can't hunt doves in my state. And now Denton Hills, Pennsylvania. This guy's from somewhere down south, and he goes, where are y'all from? I says, I live in New York. He goes, you can't shoot doves? I says, they're protected. He goes, that's just crazy. Because some of those southern guys, dove hunting is bigger than deer.
Love dove hunting.
Bigger than deer.
They say that when dove hunting happens in Kentucky, I'm pretty sure when it starts in Kentucky,
mm-hmm.
I guess it's like World War III. Like it's just boom, 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 boom. People are out there. They love dove hunting.
It's the first day is bigger than deer season. Yeah,
I've actually had dove meat, and they taste delicious.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot on them. They're not big.
A lot. No, maybe less than a deck of cards.
Where'd you get the squab that you did your video on?
The squab was actually that was in the backyard. Actually,
okay, those are pigeons.
Yeah, pigeons.
They're unprotected.
Yeah,
they're unregulated. Dove are smaller.
Oh yeah,
they're
smaller. Way smaller.
But how do I sign one of those petitions?
You go online. And you could just type in New York State dove hunting petition,
mm-hmm.
and it will be on there. It's just an electronic petition, and you just fill out your name. And,
what do? You
type
scroll your finger on the screen like at the bank or something?
No, you just type it on on your keyboard. It's got like a little thing that comes in. You fill out online,
mm-hmm.
and you just click submit, and you'll see your number. Boom, just go up. And I signed it.
See, and I didn't know anything about that, and I'm glad you made me aware.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, text me.
Well,
I'm not really.
There's a new one. There is a brand new one for this year.
For
September antlerless bow September antlerless bow season.
Strictly antlerless.
Strictly antlerless.
I'm okay with that.
Depending on the area, I am.
Oh, the unit.
Depending on the unit. Yes.
Okay.
And speaking of that, that's the thing too. Like when we talk about New York State, especially for people who don't know, we have different units. Like this one here is 9.
Where
9A,
right now you're outside.
Yeah, like
9A.
Niagara County's 9A.
Yeah.
You have 9F, and each little section is broken up into little F, A, G.
Well, just so you know, I'm sure you're aware, is that 9 whatever would be Region 9.
Well, yes, you're right.
And then the line separates, and then as you go further east, it's Region 8.
Like Genesee County or whatever.
Well, actually, my camp, even though my camp is in Allegheny County, just because of the way the natural border is, it's actually 8X.
Oh, okay.
So it just kind of shaves over and becomes part of Region 8. It's still technically Region 9.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's 8X.
Okay.
So usually every year I get a doe tag for 8X, which is my camp, and then I get a second one for 9A, which is here around home.
Okay. I didn't know that. It's funny too, because like the Swamps is 8. Alabama Swamps is AG. Right.
Well, because the Niagara County,
Genesee
County border, Route 77 goes right through there.
But I agree with that, and I don't know. I haven't signed it yet.
The early
antlerless. I don't know how I feel about it And that's just because I don't know what area. I got to see what areas that they want to push it on. And I want to see how long it's going to be. Like I'm hoping it's not the whole month of September.
Yeah, they put it right into the doorstep of archery.
They would put it right,
season.
So that way you would have almost 3 months of bow season, and then first month just being all antlerless. I don't know if I like that.
I see where you're going with that, and I understand, because now you're starting to, I don't want to say crowd the woods, but now you're starting to beat a path into the woods in September.
For 3 months.
For 3 months. And then, because usually then by the time the last week of October rolls around, is that what we're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the ground pretty much smells like a human being no matter where you go in New York State.
Absolutely.
Unless Vinny owns, 600 acres and he only lets me and two other guys in there, then it's like, hey, open it up whenever you want.
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. But.
No, yeah, I wish I did. We'd be on.
Me too. Man.
Oh, man. But, I mean, it's just, I see it as a little bit of a problem just because if they open it up in some areas, like say in Niagara County, I don't think it should happen in Niagara County.
Because of the human population.
Because of the human population, the hunter population, and because I already don't feel like the doe tag system in Niagara County is correct.
Is accurate.
Because I feel like where people see, and people who a lot of the lawmakers who don't hunt, because you were just talking about, because they don't know. A lot of people just don't know. They hear what the one guy tells them, and that's just what it is.
Right.
Where they're seeing the deer, you already can't hunt anyway.
More likely than not.
So
not always, but probably.
Like at Amherst.
Right, and that's why the deer is there, because the complete lack of pressure.
Absolutely. Lack of predators besides
You know what? I will agree with you on that, but let's try and go one better and say, why not create a lottery system, which would cut down the number of tags distributed, maybe increase the number of applicants, and at the same time, the one thing that every elected official understands is it generates money.
Dollars and cents.
Right. So, therefore, Vinny could put in for a tag and you could break Niagara County down into smaller areas, maybe some of the areas that are more densely populated with deer. Yeah. And Vinny says, look, you know what? So-and-so, the guy I work with down the road, he's got tons of deer behind his house. If I put in for a tag there, you know what I mean? And then $15 application fee. No. Maybe that's an avenue to research or to look into. And
that would be a better. I would be way more comfortable hearing that. Okay, we're going to do a lottery system because I would like to see that. Okay, this is the number we need taken.
Right.
This is the number we always get taken.
Right.
We need this many taken away. This is how many permits we're going to.
This is the number of guys who want to go in there.
Absolutely.
Who are wringing their hands.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Which I mean, and a smart thing to say, I guess, would be there isn't ever a lack of capital, but a lack of vision.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. But
I didn't actually. That's a taken saying.
Is it? Well, yeah. But what I'm saying is that. But as far as generating the capital, it's never a bad idea because it's just more money and funds that can be put into correcting the problem of
conservation.
Even though I don't know what percentage actually goes into it versus the government.
I'd like to know. I'd like to see what percent that actually is. That goes
I would too, but I'm afraid to find out what it actually is.
Well.
But getting back to that the Amherst issue was I believe that was proposed where it was like, let's do a lottery thing. We can raise money for the town of Amherst, and they're like, we don't need your money. Well, so it was like, all right, let's kill that idea. You know what I mean? It was like, no, But if it was a township that was like not hard up, it'd be like, well, we can raise money. We could fix our roads. We could do that. Amherst is
eventually they will, because those deer are just. It's a matter of time. Well, I believe they already are starting to change their patterns. Those deer. Now the deer we're talking about in Amherst, our way, Western New York. It's an area that you cannot hunt, and a lot of people live there. And it used to be a lot of woods.
Every day there's less and less.
And every day there's less and less.
Another house goes up.
And those deer got to be pushed somewhere. And then these are the same people who are complaining and bitching that their brand new flowers
and their landscaping is getting hammered.
Absolutely.
Because the first day it was like they're looking out the window. Oh my God, Ben, come here. here, look, there's a deer out there, you know.
Yeah,
and
wait till later that night.
2 months later, it's like, you know, you just paid a landscaping company $2,000 and all your bushes are gone, chewed down to a nub.
Done. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's hard because like those are the same people who say like I don't want it. Like you'll have the. It's such a frustrating topic because you'll have those people say like I hate hunting. People who hunt are bad. Mm-hmm. But how do we get rid of these deer? Like, well, there's only one way. What, you got to neuter them? You can't do it.
Oh, yeah, that was actually considered.
It
was
giving them it was giving them basically
birth control.
Yeah, birth control.
Yeah,
you know, but
it was kind of. I don't want to get into it here, Vin, because it's sort of a like to me. That was like an asinine thought, you know what I mean?
Me too.
So
there's no way.
Yeah, there isn't. But all right. So where do we go from here?
Where do we go from what in the topic of conversation?
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about what gets a hunter in there, what makes their life, you know, a part of hunting, right? So now you could be part, you know, fully involved in hunting and fishing and stuff like that in the outdoors. But something happens to a person when you become a hunter and when you're not even just successful, but when you involve your life in that style, something happens to a person. You end up starting to look at different things in a completely different way. Like most people will look and look at that nice creek. I'm looking at I see two mallards under there. There's a bass under that log, and then there's, you know. So what turns a person from not just living it, but completely involved? Like it's a whole different mindset.
I would say you can probably pin most of that to time and experience, you know, and how you look at things, how that person kind of. Have you ever heard the term woodsmanship?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm sort of trying to pin it onto here, because that really only comes from time spent out there, time putting boot prints in the mud and, you know, on the water's edge fishing or waterfowling. You can't get that from a book or a video. Those are great sources of information. Yeah. But I think once the person, you know, you're driving down the road and you see a flooded field and you're like...
Geese, sandhill cranes.
It's like, man, that hedgerow was awful close to the water. I could probably get a blind in there.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's time. That's, to me, that's woodsmanship. That's just basically time spent doing it. And it's sort of maybe like the next step or one of the steps taken like once you're a little higher up there, once you've kind of maybe gotten the smaller things out of the way, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
to me, I mean, that's what.
Well, I bring that up too because I was listening to that Bear Grease podcast I told you about, and he was talking about and he's a cool cat. I mean, he's
yeah, I watched it. You forwarded the link to me.
Did I? Yeah. But he's the guy who also was talking about the why can't I think about it now? The raccoon baculum.
Okay.
You know about the baculum. You never heard of a baculum? I'm gonna tell you stuff.
Go, yeah.
Oh my goodness!
All right, I learn something new from you every day.
It's just amazing because I don't know. I look at you as somebody who just knows so much. You know what I mean? But
again, don't pin that kind of Vin. You know what? I'm a regular guy who's just been doing it for a long time.
But that's the thing. You fully immersed your life into it.
Well, it's because of passion and interest. Yeah. You know.
Well, a baculum is a penis bone.
Oh, well, I know about that. I didn't know it was a baculum.
That's what they call it. Baculum or bacilli.
Bacilli?
And, yeah, so that's what he was talking about, how to make that into a toothpick.
Oh, I've actually seen those for sale, like dried out.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But they make them in canes. Like some animals, obviously bigger animals, you can make walking canes and sticks and stuff like that.
That'd have to be a pretty big animal.
You know what I mean? But they have them. Mm-hmm. But
the other thing, too, is... again, and I apologize for backtracking a little bit, but the person who immerses their life, and the other thing is they should be not well equipped, but in my opinion, willing to, or at least capable of, bringing somebody new into it. Sort of not
receptive.
Yeah, not necessarily like a an apprenticeship or anything like that, but if somebody is there and they show interest, they should be willing to at least become at least somewhat involved. Absolutely. Provided the child's parent is willing, or say, look, I'd really like to show your son how to shoot skate. He seems to be interested in it. And
he wants to shoot a bow.
He wants to shoot a bow.
He wants to go out after ducks.
Right. I could do the best I can. Is help him, maybe take him to a waterfowl identification class or something like that. Vin,
that was me.
But I tell you this: very few little kids come to my house that don't shoot arrows.
Well,
you know what I mean? Really, my whole family does it.
Yeah. Which is cool.
It is.
That's what I try to do too. I mean, as I've gotten older now, I got a family of my own, and I definitely have always involved the kids in hunting and fishing, and
right.
I taught my daughter colors by skinning out ducks.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? She was talking. I'd say, "What color's the bill?" Yellow.
Yeah.
What color's the head? Green. Feet orange.
Yeah. No, that's
color's
good.
that liver? Red.
Wait till you see how it tastes.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then they love it.
But something to that effect too. I would add into that.
That's a big part. That's a big thing too, because not a lot of people want to take. And now it's today's society. It's very hard. It's definitely harder to take your neighbor's kid out and to hunt. That's a big one.
That is, because of just so much going on, and but on a positive note, there's youth seasons,
which is great.
Which I agree wholeheartedly, and I had this discussion with a couple of guys that I used to work with that didn't like it.
Really?
Oh yeah. Wait a minute! I had to wait for opening day of gun season. You mean the kid's going to get to go out there 2 weeks? Yeah. You know what? Yeah. If that's what it takes to set the hook on this little kid so that he's enjoying it, you know what I mean? Or the youth waterfowl season or the youth turkey season. I mean, is it that much of an advantage?
No,
because
really.
There's not as many kids, going out there. So. I don't know what the percentage is, but the number of, say, turkeys that are harvested 2 days the weekend prior.
Yeah.
What
does that hurt?
Yeah. So it's like, what? Here's an opportunity to not to take a kid and to introduce them to it, but to take a kid and to show them what it's about.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you know what? The woods are yours today and tomorrow, and we're going to do the best we can. You know what? We're going to follow all the laws.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to be safe.
Right, but more importantly, if you get cold or you get hungry and you want to go back, we're going to go back.
We're going to go back, yeah.
I'm not going to look at a little kid and go, I don't care if you're soaking wet. We're staying out here another 4 hours. It's like, you know what? That's why when I took Frankie, I had plenty of food. I had candy bars. I had hot chocolate. I had,
Well, that's what, like, my daughter last year, she wanted to go bow hunting. And I'm like, obviously she's too young to go bow hunting. She was 7 years old. But she wanted to come with me and sit out on the stand. I said, you know what? You are more than welcome. I'll take you out anytime. I was like, but you got to wake up early. Mm-hmm. And you got to be dressed warm.
Right. And so you're going to have to sit still and be quiet.
Yeah, which she had no problem with. We ended up seeing the one day we went out 2 times last year. She wanted to go out 2 times. The first time we seen a 4-point. Unsuccessful. He just wasn't able. I wasn't able to get the shot on him. He walked away. But you know what?
But she got to see the deer.
She got to see the deer.
That's the important part. Right there.
He was 15 yards away, but just not in the right. He was facing me, and I won't take that shot with the ball.
That is special. You didn't have a shot.
Didn't have a shot. What I mean? Some people will. Some people will take that shot.
Well, you know what? My kid's here, so I better shoot an arrow. Right? Yes. No. No, you did the right thing, in my opinion. Yeah. That's just my opinion.
I think so too, because you know what? I sat down.
I know so.
Well, you know what? I sat down and I remember. I'll never forget it, because that's one of the best ones. I've never even shot that deer, but you know what? That deer gave me an opportunity for a great lesson, because I sat down and she was so excited and she was kind of shaking, and she was like, "How come you didn't shoot, Dad? How come you didn't shoot?" I'm like, "Listen, you don't always get the shot,
right?
But at least we got to see one today." And she was just like, "Well, I don't understand." I'm like, "Listen, it wasn't gun season." Right. You have to know where you're shooting this animal.
Right.
You're going to take it. You have to do the best job you can.
Right. With archery equipment, and it's a good opportunity for you to explain. We want the deer to be broadside, to kind of turn to us, maybe unaware. that's to me that's a perfect opportunity for a little lesson.
Oh yeah, and that was her first time. The second time, she learned about the cold in the early morning. By 8 o'clock, she was
just cold in general, cold feet.
Cold in general.
Okay.
Because it was a snow. It was a snow that came through, and I was like, I woke her up in the morning, and I was like, listen, it's cold.
It's going to be.
Do you want to go, or do you want to stay in bed? She was a trooper. She said, I want to go. All right, we got up in the tree stand. Like
she's got your gene in her.
Oh yeah. An hour later though, she was like, "Hey Dad, do you mind if I go back home?" We can go back home. I'll get out. We'll go back home.
Exactly.
But
yeah, that's right to force the kid to stay out there. Yeah. That's the wrong approach.
Yes,
because now you're introducing them to misery, discomfort.
Absolutely. It's not what you want to do, or else they'll hate it.
Right.
I can't tell you how many people I've heard of. Oh, I went out hunting with my dad years ago, and it sucked because it was cold, and I stayed out there for hours.
That's the same exact theory behind the kid who plays Little League Baseball because his father wants him to. Yeah. He drags him to the game, drags him to practice, and the kid's out in right field, and he's bored as hell.
Hates it.
And he hates it. You know what? If you tell the kid, say, listen, you know what? I'm going to sign you up for Little League next week. You want to play? And the kid goes, no. Say, okay. You don't want to play? You don't want to play.
That's what it is.
Right. You know what I'm saying? That's the exact same thing. It just applies to the hunting thing, where it's like...
I think I go a little bit overboard sometimes when that happens, though. Myself, personally, because, like, especially, like, Viv, she's 8 years old now. Mm-hmm. But especially when it comes to outdoors, right? If I'm like, hey, you want to go fishing? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, we're bringing this tackle by. We'll bring this and this and this, and we're gonna go fishing. We're having a good time. What do you want to go for? Salmon? We're going. Right. You know what I mean?
But you know what? If she enjoys that, the way I look at it is, if we introduce them to everything, and I did that with Frankie, waterfowl, turkey, deer hunting, bow hunting, and stuff, and of course the shooting sports, the clays and stuff like that, and if I had to pick one thing, I'd say it's probably the waterfowling, but it's the early morning and the cold that kind of, made it hard for the spaghetti to stick to the wall on that one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you introduce a kid to fishing, you know what? 20, 30 years from now, Vin, you might be going fishing with your grandkids and your daughter because you took that little girl fishing.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. And your son. Her kids.
Right. They sure as hell don't like to shoot ducks, but you know what? Every year come salmon season, it's like, they're calling me. Yeah. Grandpa, I want to go. Are we going Saturday? Yeah. Perfect. Oh, yeah. That's stuck to the wall. You know what I mean? Good. And you're outside, fresh air. Mm. You almost can't go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong with that.
And honestly, fishing is a little bit more acceptable in that anti-world. True. Because you can let them go.
True. I tell you what, they still have a problem with that. That's a whole.
But you can eat them too.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole different ball of wax.
Right. Hey, how are we doing on time?
We're there, but I have just two.
We're over an hour already.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
See how fast it goes.
It goes fast, Vin.
But there's one thing that I definitely want to talk about, that you wanted to recant something.
Oh, yes. The first podcast.
Yes.
I recant the statement that I only bow hunted with traditional because I found a couple pictures of me with a compound and some fish. Yeah. And to be honest with you, that must have actually been like, maybe I was on my second or third compound and it was like, yeah, I got this old one. Yeah. So I used that. So I just, I'm glad you brought that up.
Still nothing wrong with it. Not at all.
Oh, no. With which part?
With the shooting with the compound.
Oh no, not at all. It's just that in my mind, it's like I could take my traditional equipment, I'll stick it under the water. I don't care.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? Whereas before it was like, it's a compound. I worry a little bit about the wheels and stuff. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem. I know that was the thing that was on your mind, and I was like, don't even worry about it. But
well, no,
which is you want to be truthful.
The best I can. Yeah. In order to maintain credibility, we have to be honest with it.
True. And then. Just one more thing. I mean, just again, congratulations this year on the spring.
Oh, the turkey season.
I know I posted the one picture.
Yep.
You did a fantastic job this year.
Thanks, Vin. I appreciate it. It was started off slow.
Yeah.
First probably 3 times I hunted in May, got out. It was quiet. I had to cover a lot of ground. Didn't hear much, but I think things kind of broke loose. In my opinion, it's like some of the hens maybe had been bred, and some of the gobblers were starting to find themselves alone in the morning, or the hens were leaving them. So
I feel like I don't know how it was with turkey, but for you, but I feel like sometimes that towards that later on in the season, actually kind of heats up with the turkeys.
Yeah. Honest to God, my thought on that is that very thing happens. Is like now some of the hens are bred and the gobblers are still raring to go.
Yeah.
And they're not that they're searching, but they're a little bit more maybe susceptible to be called in. On the downside is, they've seen a few guys, they've maybe been shot at, so it does kind of make it tougher.
Yeah.
So, it's that too is a double-edged sword where it's like, it's like later in May, and then some people shy away because it starts to get buggy.
True.
But
that's good times when it is.
Well, and the other thing I like about later in May is the foliage. I mean, you could slip in a little bit closer sometimes and not get busted because I don't know if I mentioned this the last time when we last podcast we touched on everything, but if a bird's in a tree, I mean, think about how far you can see when you're bow hunting.
Oh, forever.
Right, and then you get down on the ground and you're untying your bow, and it's like you're in the same spot.
Yeah. Where did I shoot that deer? I don't even know. Oh yeah.
So now the bird's in the tree, and it's like, and you're trying to like.
And he's up there. He could be up there too.
Depending on how big. Yeah, depending on how big the tree is, but you want to, or at least I want to, or try to, kind of narrow the distance, to call them in.
Yeah.
So you with the foliage, you could get a little bit. At least try to get a little closer. I've bumped a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Learn the hard way.
Which is your way of hunting is completely different than I've ever learned. I learned from you, and I like your way. I hunted turkey with my old man the first time, and first probably 10 times honestly I hunted turkey with my old man because he was always just into deer and turkey and stuff like that. But and we only knew the way that we were taught, which was you sit in a ground blind and you call and you just don't move.
It works.
It works. I shot a turkey like that, but I like your way better.
Well. Yes, I mean, and it's not my way. I learned from.
You learned from a guy.
I learned from a guy, and I'll tell you his name's Don West.
That's the guy. I need to get him
the
on
guy.
there. Don West.
Actually, I think it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Don West. If it is,
I'll have to call Donnie. But he's the one that taught me. He's like, listen, you know what? The whole idea is to find a hot bird and then basically close the distance, because Mother Nature, you and I are trying to reverse it by bringing the gobbler to the hen. Normally she goes to the gobbler, which is why he gobbles when you hear it. He struts, maybe he's down in a bowl. And
is that for protection?
Is what?
Is that for protection?
What?
Why the hen goes to the gobbler? Because
no, I think it has more to do with maybe the strutting and the gobbling, where he's displaying himself and he sees or she sees him, and but then again, I don't know the exact reason, but Mother Nature she goes to him, you and I are calling, and we're trying to reverse that. And so,
I get you.
So to me, it's more like, trying to find a bird and then close the distance.
Yeah.
So,
which is great. I mean, I like that idea. I like that better because at least you're not in one spot. Because a gobbler could be 100 yards away and never want to even come your way.
Yeah. Well, this year, I think it was after I harvested the first one, and I had action with the second one.
Yeah.
He come in, about 80, and I could see him. I'd see him strutting, and I couldn't see him, and he's back forward, and it's like, no, he's over here. I see him strutting. He came as far as he wanted to go, and then I don't know what line in the sand was there.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't coming any closer, and I couldn't get up and move at that point because he would have seen me. But it was like that was just a true classic hang up, they call it. Whereas if there was a little bit more foliage on the tree, maybe I could have slid in a little closer, and that 80-yard hang up might have been a 40-yard hang up. And if I could have just brought him to like 35,
you might have been.
There would have been a possible opportunity. Yeah. So that
being said, now just saying that, now it rambles through my head every time I talk to you. Now every time I talk to you on the phone, obviously we talk, frequently and stuff like that. But now it's the second podcast. Now I think about it, I'm like, me and you could do 20, 30 more podcasts.
Whatever you want to do. Like I said, it's up to
turkey, bow fishing.
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm still a little uncomfortable over here telling you exactly how I feel, because it's just my opinion. I mean, everything I say into this microphone, unless it's like, no, this is a fact. In 1972, the season started. But it's like, I have my opinions, and Everybody else does too.
Absolutely.
And
that's all this is too. Like,
sure,
I don't know. I'm
sure.
not, I'm
yeah. But most of it is
yeah.
is based on, like, you know what, I've tried that
experience. And,
honestly, shooting turkeys out of a blind, nothing wrong with that.
No,
but you're pinned. I tried it in New York.
Pinned. You're stuck.
I have a portable blind. It's like a golf bag. It's like carrying a golf bag in the woods, and I tried it for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I never even, I mean, there was a couple times where I gripped a string and no decoy. But the problem is you can't move. Yeah, I mean, when I say move, it's like I can't get up and go 60 yards over there and sit back down at a big tree. And it's it's like, he didn't want to come here, maybe he'll go over there. That was the hard part with that aspect of it. And I just got to a point where I says, every man has to realize the limitations, and I've met mine.
Sure.
So,
and that's what in my head, right back to what we were talking about in the beginning. That's in my head what makes an outdoorsman a hunter. That's how I can tell. Like that guy off the Bear Grease podcast, he could tell when somebody can. He was saying, like, if somebody can make an owl call, he's like, I know that they're in the woods, that they're a woodsman. You know what I mean? For me, to know when to move and not to stay in the same spot, and just knowing how to adapt to your element, to the game that you're hunting, that's one of the biggest things for me that makes a hunter too.
That's woodsmanship. Yeah, I mean, when people say that word, you think, there's woodsmanship being able
to whittle.
You're good. Is woodsmanship? Years and years ago, I used to think that was like being able to build a fire with rubbing two sticks and knowing which berries to eat. That's not woodsmanship. To me, woodsmanship is knowing, like, being able to read track and sign.
True.
And like how some critters respond or react, and
where they live.
Where they live, what they're looking for, what they're avoiding, what they eat. To me, that's woodsmanship.
And if you see a white oak, I get excited.
Well, because those are the sweetest acorns.
yeah. You have the big yellow acorns out there. You know that deer and turkey are going to be in those acorns.
A red oak isn't bad.
No, but they're bitter.
They're bitter.
You ever try one?
No, but what's it? Tannin, they call it, right? The acorns are loaded with tannin.
Oh, I don't know. I've tried them before.
Did you try the white ones too?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could tell a red oak when they're bitter.
Well, they're all bitter. You got to soak them, don't you?
I don't know, but all I know is, like, you try a red oak one, it leaves a film on your mouth worse than
you don't want to say.
No, you don't want to. Oh my god!
Right.
You'd be puckered up. You feel like you're dehydrated almost. Yeah.
But the critters will eat the red.
They'll eat the red.
Yeah. And actually, out west they have this thing called oak brush.
Okay. I don't know.
Actually, there's some of it behind me in that elk photo, my elk harvest. It's like brushy, and the acorns are little.
Yeah.
They're like the size. They're smaller than they're about the size of, like, maybe a pencil eraser.
Oh, really?
A little bit bigger.
Okay.
With the little cap.
Same look and everything, right?
Yeah, it's clearly an acorn, but it's like the size of my pinky, like smaller.
Okay.
Just, oak brush. I remember seeing it, and I asked the guide. I was like, "What's this?" He goes, "That's oak brush." I was like, "Okay, I should have known that." But
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but
we don't have that out this way.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Is you go on some of these out-of-state hunts, you see different birds, you see different brush, you smell different things, you see some animals. Like, whoa, look at that, like and I'll just tell this. I don't know if you want to cut this short soon, Vin, but I was on an antelope hunt, and I was in the guide's truck. And when I say a guide, I mean they drive you out in a truck to a blind. And we were coming back, and a badger crossed the road.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, whoa, that was a badger. And the guy goes, yeah. He goes, that was a badger. What's the badger? I go, pull. I said, pull the truck over. He goes, why? You can't shoot it. I go, I don't want to shoot it. And it was back. I had a digital camera before. I might have had a cell phone, track phone back then, but I said, I want to take a picture of it. He goes, these things are they could be a little nasty. I go, well, I'm not going to get real close.
I'm not going to pet it.
All right, hopefully. So, and it went down into a little, like a crack.
Okay.
So I'm standing over I got the photo. If you want, I'll send it to you.
Oh, I gotta send that one.
You put it up like right about here, Finn.
Oh yeah, you already know.
But it was like, whoa, a badger. You know what I mean? So but to me, that's again, part of the whole outdoorsman. Not just, it's like, you come home, you kill an antelope? No, but I saw a badger. You know what I mean? How cool was that?
That's
you know
cool.
What I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Different birds, different brush, different sceneries.
Yeah.
I like that stuff. I mean,
me too.
Whether most guys realize it or not, if you're a hunter, you have some kind of an appreciation for the outdoors. You have to.
You care about wildlife too.
Yeah, different degree for most people, but still, I think even the average guy who just maybe deer hunts with a firearm, if he comes out of the woods one day and he's like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe this. I saw a bobcat." You know what I mean?
Oh no. You're gonna be like, "Whoa, bobcat."
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh,
I mean, to me, anyways, and I'm sure most guys, feel the same way. Or
some don't, though. It's out there.
Well, if they don't, then I guess maybe to some degree it's their loss a little bit.
Sure.
Then they're not that they're wasting their time out there, but there's so much more enjoyment to be had.
Yeah.
It isn't just about cutting the date out of your tag. At least as far as I'm concerned, because man, there's some things that I've seen. Really cool stuff. I was fishing in a stream one time. I watched a mink chase a baby rabbit down the shore. I'm trout fishing, right? And it's like, here, little baby rabbit, right, running from this mink, and the rabbit ran into like this little hole in the bank, and then things got quiet, and then about 30 seconds later, the mink comes out of the hole with a dead baby rabbit in its mouth.
Did he really?
And then he swims across the creek, and I I was I can go home. I'm done today.
Yeah, I'm happy.
This is
cool.
Awesome. And nobody had cell phones back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have had time to get that. But it's in there.
Oh yeah. But you always remember that one.
Yeah, and to me, that's super cool.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, cool, I love seeing stuff like that.
I do too.
I remember I had a turkey land above me on the tree stand.
Really?
Flew up right across the field, and I don't know what he was running from, but he was flying fast, and he come up, landed right on the branch above me, a little hen, and I was
no doubt that bird saw you.
Oh, no doubt that bird saw me.
Yeah,
he knew. Oh, I knew he saw me because he was looking down the whole time, like. But he needs. Are you gonna kill me?
He needs safety.
Yeah.
He was just like safety right
away.
away.
It just happened. I was actually in the southern tier, and I was just right on the edge of a field, and that was the first tree that he could get up into, and he was just like right up in there. He didn't stay long, but he was just like. I know you're there, guy, but
give him time to assess the situation. So, all right, that guy ain't gonna take a shot at me. Now where do I go? You know what I mean? No, absolutely.
But it's cool stuff like that you see. I love it.
I love it, Ben.
And obviously, again, I appreciate you coming out here.
Listen, if you know what, anything, Ben, because you know what, I mean, I realize your appreciation for the outdoors and your passion and your love and your of just being a sportsman and the whole ball of wax, the fishing, like was it a week ago? You text me a picture of
the turkeys
with some poults.
Yeah, that was cool. It was two hens together,
and like maybe half a dozen poults, maybe 4.
There was a lot you couldn't see because they were underneath the tall grass, but there had to be a dozen.
Yeah,
a dozen poults with them. I was like, wow, there's a bunch.
See, that's great. Yeah. I mean, those little things are probably like one of the most preyed upon. I mean, for first couple of weeks of their life, they can't fly up into the tree, and they're on the ground. And it's like they're sitting ducks.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Plus, it was in a state park too. You can't do any hunting in there.
No, you can't do any hunting. But you know what? It doesn't apply to coyotes and red fox, does it?
It doesn't.
So those poults are fair game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
but again, I appreciate you coming out here. This was the I wanted to have you come out here too, especially because I wanted to do the what makes a hunter kind of a podcast. Before we go any farther, I know I've done a couple of them. About hunting, about fishing, stuff like that. But I definitely wanted to get into what makes a hunter, and I feel like you're on the same page as I am.
Thanks.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm since you're older than I am. I'm on the same page as you are.
No, you're definitely well on your way. You're much further along than I was at your age because of the amount of information. That's the plus side to the younger kids today. The amount of information that's out there is it's second to none.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all you want.
Yeah.
Internet, YouTube.
And this is the best way, honestly, talk to people.
This is great.
And like I said, thank you again.
No problem. And you're welcome. Anytime.
You're gonna have you come out here. We got to do some more. We got a whole bunch we could talk about, and that's the thing. We could just next one, who knows? I'll throw a dart at the board and we'll see what we talk about next time.
Spin the wheel.
We'll talk about broadheads. We talk forever.
If you want, I can bring props.
Collector, right?
I can bring props. We can spend an whole 60 minutes on broadheads.
You ain't lying.
I mean? Probably bore you with that one though.
No, because I remember just talking about it at your house.
I still got all those broadheads.
I love it.
The collection got larger. So.
Did it? Oh, good.
Yeah, over time.
But thank you again. And then for the people who watch this and the people who watch, your Cousin Vinny videos and stuff like that. Sorry, I haven't been able to put one out. I'm under the weather, I guess, right now. But I'll be back. And then the guys at my work too. You don't worry, you'll be hearing me talk about hunting soon.
Mm-hmm. Right now, Vinny's got a boo-boo.
Oh yeah. Well, that's all I talk about at work too, is hunting and fishing and stuff.
Good.
Like that, but shooting.
Good.
Well, all right. Well, thank you for coming out here. I'm glad you were here.
My pleasure, Ben.
And remember, it's his cousin, her cousin, your cousin Vinny. We'll see you later, guys. All right, bye.